and this is Geek Tank.
It's a podcast size podcast.
Eh,
Eh,
Oh wait. Yeah. So here we are,
here we
face to
are.
face. A couple of silver spoons.
Did you hear Littleton Inglewood almost blew up today?
Really? No.
Let me look it up real quick. But yeah, down at not too far from here, Santa Fe and Bellevue, there was a fuel truck that caught on fire.
Oh,
Yes,
that would have been unpleasant.
indeed. Um, I'll look up real quick just to get you some more details. Yeah, there's some great footage of this black smoke just billowing. Um, but when I left this morning to take the kiddo to school, um, normally it's not that hard to go from my little side street onto the main street, but it was just this huge line of traffic. I'm like, this isn't right. We're going to find another way around because there's always another way around.
Right.
So I just had to go the other direction away from my destination to get to where I needed to go to get out of there. And it was faster. So it's not always a straight line's not always the fastest way to get from point A to point B.
Right.
But yeah, it's why is it giving me just videos? I wanted the news story. There we go.
This is the 21st century, and nobody talks, nobody reads anymore.
Apparently not. Commercial fuel truck catches fire, creating potential hazmat situation in Littleton. Santa Fe Drive is shut down in all directions. Drivers advised to avoid the area. Usually good advice when there's a fuel truck on fire.
Right. Weird.
Commercial fuel truck caught fire Monday morning, creating a potential hazard situation, according to South Metro Fire Rescue. This started on South Santa Fe Drive between West Bellevue Avenue and West Union Avenue around 5:38 a.m., just before rush hour traffic. Perfect. Monday, on Monday, in front of a U-Haul facility. So at least it wasn't in front of more fuel.
Right. Except
Just-
there's trucks full of fuel there.
That was my sarcastic point. Santa Fe Drive shut down. So yeah, sometimes sarcasm needs to be a little sharper in tone, I think, to make sure it's clear. They were not any blah 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 blah. But in any case, yeah, that was not too far from here.
That would have been a knock the windows out sort of boom.
Yeah. Luckily, it did not get to that point.
Luckily, it didn't get to boom.
Yes. Years ago, in that recycle facility that's not far from here, one of their sheds exploded because they were improperly storing propane and such. And we heard that. We heard a boom. We're like, what was that?
Then fire trucks. You're like, whoa.
Yep.
That's funny.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of scary, actually. Somewhat terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, looks like everything worked out in the end, though.
Yeah, I don't have any other details as to what caused it and such. So
Probably something sparky in the fuely thingy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because they crashed or if it just caught fire on its own.
They do that all the time. Just driving down a. There you go.
Spontaneous combustion.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Nothing but the tires.
The truck crashed and caught fire.
Okay.
So it did. There's a little coaxing in the fire happening.
Yeah. That happens a lot. You need to. I mean, there's a certain amount of need for a catalyst.
Mm-hmm. Whole triangle of fire.
Right. Triangle catalyst of fire.
So yeah, I don't know what caused the crash, but truck drivers work insane hours. There's really strict laws to try to prevent that from happening, but
it's always an interesting thing to me when we have situations where it is clear and obvious that we've got a problem in this particular zone, field, whatever, and the companies resist it.
Yeah.
And you're like, I get that you need money, but on the same token, it's kind of obvious that you're saying specifically, we're going to kill our truck driver. I'm like, I mean, you're saying it with a whole chest there. It's just kind of weird, like scary. And that always baffles me because it's not the first time that things like that happened. We've had that numerous times over the years, and it's still kind of like, okay, saying that with your whole chest though.
Yeah, well, it's like making basically having really strict laws on the Amazon drivers to where they didn't get bathroom breaks.
Yeah,
It's just the greed is just insane.
yeah, and I don't know if it's a greed or just people not thinking it through. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're like, oh well, we have to cut their hours by 20%. Well, we can't cut 20% of their hours. That would, cut into our, and they don't think of it like we have to keep these people alive. They think of it as we have to cut their hours by 20%. Like they're operating on those 20% hours right now. So cutting their 20, what are they going to do? Sit around? And I mean, like, that's what fascinates me is what makes people, what mental gymnastics does someone go through to make them get to the point where they can do something like that? Because we're not built for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it always fascinates me because I'll talk to people and you can tell when they finally, the light bulb comes on and they're like, oh yeah, no, that, you're like, you didn't think of that first. I did. Not sure why you didn't, but I did. It fascinates me. All kinds of things like that fascinate me all the time. I guess that's why I became an anthropologist.
Probably so. And because it wasn't working out the other direction.
Right? Wasn't working out the other way. That's okay.
Just skimming through stuff here. Apparently, United Wizards of the Coast is the union of workers behind Magic the Gathering Arena, organizing in partnership with the Communication Workers of America. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Let's see if there's an actual news story or just a video. No, just a video because nobody reads anymore.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be so upset with it, except there's nothing we can do here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we can't, it's not like we can run a video right now while broadcasting. No. So there's no catching up on it until after the show's over. And that's kind of like, well,
at least not until an AI actually does live transcribing for us.
Yeah, actually, I do know that from time to time I have actually watched a video with the volume off and the subtitles on, and that's been my way of reading the article. I feel somewhat weird about that, but here we are.
Yeah. So, you've been reading. I'm not sure how far you've been, but you've been talking about how you've really been enjoying Dungeon Crawl Carl.
Yeah.
So how far in there?
In book 6, I believe.
Out of,
I think there's 9. I don't know. There's one coming out in May.
So, did you see that they're fundraising for a role-playing game of it?
Oh, you messaged me. My phone was over there on the charger, so I missed the messages because I was sitting right over here, and I'm like, and then my alarm went off, and I went and got my phone and got on here. So sorry.
Yeah. Well, I figured if I didn't see you on here when I logged on, then I would have to start coming up with a plan B.
A plan B, which would be to talk to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, in fact, me, because I would definitely do that. Mm-hmm. and text you right back right now. Yeah, so I've been seeing all kinds of interesting stuff about Dungeon Crawl Carl that has been coming around. I've been hearing rumors of them, making movies and stuff like that. So it's all kinds of stuff going on. It's a pretty active topic.
Yeah, Renegade Games has a backer kit, which I guess is a variation of Kickstarter. I think it's owned by Renegade Games. So yeah, they're apparently doing it. See, this is why I really like GURPS.
Yeah,
because
we could just do it.
Yeah, you did. And now, granted, GURPS would definitely now, and early 2000s when they started really leaning into this, they would release a GURPS Dungeon Crawler Carl expansion. Yeah. But you really don't need it because if you have the basic set, it has everything in there for you to make up your own stuff.
Yeah.
So you didn't need a system for every game.
Well, and
Um,
I seem to remember that there once was a time when it was just source books. I
mhm.
mean, even in the Palladium system, they were just source books.
Yeah. Uh,
They had the newer Valkyries, their specs and things like that, and characters if you ever wanted to play the main characters from the TV show, and you know what I mean. But in the end, it was just source books. So
yep. That being said, I wouldn't mind having the miniatures. But,
yeah, somebody did a beautiful miniature of Mongo and Donut, and I
mhm.
got such a kick out of it. They printed it, and so I don't know if I saved it. I feel like it's kind of one of those. That's about right. It was kind of fun. So, but yeah, I'm looking around to see if I can find it quickly because it was just a couple of days ago.
Mhm. I
But
wonder if clearly they're going to be in talks with like Netflix and Disney and all those other groups to try to get it made. I wonder
yeah,
if they're going to lean into live action or if they're just going to animate it.
I don't know. Now I have
Which
I
would
don't
you rather? Which would you rather see?
animated, and the reason why I would rather see it animated is Donut by herself. That character is so. You're not familiar with this series at all, are you?
A little bit.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you'd have to CGI Donut, and
Yeah,
after the
there'd have
whole
to be something.
and with what happened with Garfield, you don't want that.
You're right. And so I don't know. Now, that said, I have been introduced to a whole bunch of AI cat things that have been showing up on my feed. And one of them is a Japanese series called Kurumi and Luna. And Luna is the cat. And it's a cute little series in that each one of the little videos is just Luna trying to convince Kurumi to eat snacks, like, and at my one of the ones that I was watching was, Luna saying, have a donut, and of course Kurumi, being a Japanese girl, is like, no, I'm on a diet, and Luna's like, no, no, you don't have to worry about it because there's a hole in the center, which means it's got 0 calories, and so Kurumi. Then next scene, you see Kurumi eating donuts with Luna, which is cute. I mean, like, there's no plot to it. That's literally the plot. The plot is the cat tries to convince her to eat snacks. That's it. But Luna is talking, and it's really, really convincing. The cat really does look convincingly well like that cat is talking. And so I don't know. I mean, I know this is back to our original discussion about AI and things that are AI. And I'm like, but the problem is this AI generated stuff is better than the stuff that professionals do by hand. And that both bothers me and fascinates me at the same time. It's like, huh. And so it is interesting. And so my thought is, I don't know, maybe live action would work.
Mhm.
I know that there was a little bit of a controversy right off the bat with the Mandalorian, because the scene with, spoiler alert, people, for Mandalorian, the scene with Luke Skywalker, they brought back Mark Hamill to do the part, but he obviously is not 25 years old.
Mhm.
And Mandalorian takes place during Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. That's where Mandalorian fits in the canon of everything. Well, you know, Luke doesn't look the same anymore, so they digitally de-aged him for the part. And that's fine. But then it it kind of looked a little creepy, little, a little bit kind of like the part in Rogue One with Princess Leia, right? Which also looks a little creepy and a little weird. And then these guys took deep fake software and redid it with Mark Hamill So it was still Luke Skywalker. And it looked so much better. It looked 100 times better. And I'm like, okay, this is a problem for me because generally speaking, I am anti AI.
Mm.
And I think the only real reason that I'm watching Luna and Kurumi is because Luna is obviously AI. It's a cat talking, standing on her hind legs. It is clearly not a real thing. Nobody's trying to convince me that this is a real cat. You know what I mean? That the cat wears a little jumper. So it's like even wearing like a hoodie with a hood up with her ears through the hood. So I mean it's not, and it's cute. But there's the question. I've heard a lot of people say AI is good as a tool, and that's probably something that's valuable. Is it being used as a tool instead of used to strip off people's clothes or whatever it is that AI is being used for today?
Mm-hmm.
But that's, I don't know, that's causing sort of an internal conflict with me because I think that we could make a very convincing donut using AI.
Mm.
I mean, Luna is a very convincing character in this Luna and Kurumi skit. You know, she's very convincing. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. It
Mm.
does make me wonder. It makes me think a lot. Lots of thinky time. So
I figured this had to exist. So I'm going to send it to you in private chat. You can watch it another. But I'm like, I bet somebody has already used AI to do something related to this, and I was right.
and you were right.
And of course, I haven't read it, so other than the main characters, I don't recognize anybody in this. But but yeah, I feel like if they were gonna do it, the nice thing about live action is other than the critters, which you could for some of the critters still go with the practical effects
Oh
and
yeah.
not use AI. Some of them are gonna have to be CGI, and when I say AI, I actually mean CGI. You don't need to use artificial intelligence to make it. We've been making computer graphic imaged characters in movies long before AI was doing it.
Right.
Um, but
That's actually not bad.
yeah, my concern, of
Wonderwall.
course,
Jesus.
maybe I shouldn't have sent that to you.
No, it's funny because there's a reason why Wonderwall is a joke. It's an
Okay.
ongoing joke in the book.
Okay.
So Donut loves that song and Carl
Yeah,
hates that song. And so
I see.
it's been an ongoing joke through the entire series.
It is on my list to either read or listen to for book on tape.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
It's a good series. I
I'm sure
think
I'll like it.
it is definitely one of those series where if you're a gamer of any sort, video game, role playing game, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
You will appreciate the conceits in it, you know. So it's
Hmm.
definitely something you will appreciate and like. So
Yeah,
I like,
cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's funny.
Other geeky news: the next Zombie Side Kickstarter thing is out. I said Kickstarter, but a lot of people aren't using Kickstarter anymore. Um, they were sold from Cool Mini or Not to another company, and I'm forgetting the name, but GameFound.com is a variation of Kickstarter specifically for games, I believe. So that's just going to be this one's pirates. So it's all pirate themed,
They
and
are.
they have some interesting maps. Part wants to get just for the fact boats and D and names.
Yeah.
Connect. What's that about? Was that you or me?
I don't know. You look
Did
like
you
you're
see?
losing your connection.
I saw a little drop
No,
down thing say that's just me.
yeah, it's you. You're starting to slow.
Oh no!
So
But yeah, I don't
it's
know if
even
this is gonna.
cooler because now your video and audio are not in sync. So you're
Haha!
getting, oh no,
You killed my father. Oh, you must die.
yep, hey, you killed my father. Prepare to die.
Hey, zombie unicorn. That's kind of cool.
It's a Zoombicorn.
Is it a
They're all
human?
well and good until the horn falls off, and then they're just a
Yeah.
rotten horse.
Then they're just yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a Zombicorn.
You'd think with the magic killing properties of zombie blood, they couldn't turn into a zombie or unicorn. They couldn't turn into a zombie.
Well, not with that attitude.
I know.
And
I don't know. Have to be a
no,
legend.
exactly.
Oh, that's
So,
nice.
yeah.
A zombie plague doctor.
So yeah, somebody had made a miniature, and like I said, I saved it, but I don't know where the heck I saved it.
Mhm.
They made a miniature of Princess Donut, and on the back of Mongo, which is her, I guess you could call it a mount, but it's a Velociraptor, a Utah Raptor. But you know, it was actually a lovely. It was a really good miniature. You know, because Donut at some point in time gets sunglasses. So, I mean, like, this is the most ridiculous story ever. I
Mhm.
like the fact that these are all technically spoilers, but only only in a minor way.
Mhm.
And really, honestly, you'll get to the point where she gets the sunglasses, and you'll be like, "Oh, okay, that's what guy was talking about." But that's like one of a billion things that happens in these books. So it'd be, you know, the sunglasses
Mhm.
mean nothing other than they put the sunglasses on the donut on the miniature, you know. And I was like,
Yep.
hey, you put her sunglasses on. Good job.
I think I found the one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
The mount's not that much bigger than Princess Donut, or is it one where the mount is
And it mounts pretty big.
okay? Because there's one where Princess Donut's sitting like an actual cat on a saddle on the
Yeah,
back of it.
that's
Okay,
the one.
that's the one. Okay, because there's another one where um, she's not sitting like a
Next to it.
cat. She's
Yeah.
got well, no, she's got her paws out like she has on the reins, like a person would ride one.
Oh yeah. No, the one where she's a cat loaf
Yeah,
on the back with her sunglasses.
yeah.
I like that. That one's funny. So yep. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah. You know what else is funny though?
I know. Well, they're not funny. They're
They're
serious.
not funny. They're very serious.
Mhm.
And that is to tell you the Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and your mom.
Oh, mom.
Your mom, your mom, your mom, your mom.
Maybe your mom is funny.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes
She comes
that's
over. She makes funny stuff. She made you.
true. That's true. And you know, that's definitely a factor in this.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those of you who are out there, I highly recommend that you read Dungeon Crawler Carl. It is a very good series. It is the kind of series that I really like, in that it starts with something somewhat ridiculous and kind of bizarre, and then you get attached to the characters, and then the story evolves and changes and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you catch on to more and more of this universe as it goes on. I really like those stories. And so that's kind of cool. I dig it, and it is
Cool.
definitely a good series.
Nice.
Moreover, I feel like I empathize a lot with Carl. You know, who's kind of, because I mean, I could see being in his shoes, going, "What in the world? Why is this happening to me?" You know, sort of thing. And it's funnier too because I'm reading it at night, on my Kindle, and I would be laying in bed because I actually, it's kind of cool. I put my Kindle on a little mount, so it just hangs, not hangs, but it's secured, but it's above my bed so that I can just read until my eyes close. And then at some point the Kindle goes to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, so it just like hangs there. But I lay in bed, and then George will come over. My cat George will come over and lay down on my chest while I'm reading. And I'm reading about Carl and Donut, the cat, while me and George, and I'm like, George, I'm just gonna say it now. I don't think I would have survived as well with you as Carl is with Donut. Donut's doing a far better job uh surviving here.
George is like, says you.
Right?
Maybe you're the one holding me back.
Right. Both is still true. I mean, that's still a truism. So it is good. I like the series.
Nice.
I don't want to say too much because, of course, that will.
No.
Yeah,
Let people discover it for themselves.
Yeah, that'll ruin the whole thing. I could though just do the, haha, spoiler alert.
Yeah, but then I'd have to take my headphones off.
Yeah, well, there you go. I'm just kind of glad that we have a button for spoiler alert now. It is what it is.
Without that button, nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, today I was watching Star Trek 2 and 3. I know people are shocked.
Yep.
Just on the kind of moving along in that series, and I was watching it with a buddy of mine, and I was discussing all the ins and outs of those two movies, because there's a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff that's happening in those movies. It's great. It's very interesting. Also, on a interesting side note, I am part of the way through For All Mankind's 5th season. And I just realizing how much I really, really enjoy For All Mankind. Like, really, truly enjoy it. It's, for those of you who are not familiar with Apple TV's For All Mankind, this is a series that's started by Ron Moore. Ron Moore was the guy who wrote DS9, or at least a lot of the good episodes of DS9, the ones that you remember from Deep Space Nine. He started out on Next Gen as a writer, and he kept connecting stories, and that made them irritated. So they kicked him off of TNG and moved him over to DS9. And in DS9, they were like, no, keep going with this. This is good. And so a lot of the war arcs and stories that involve, especially the Klingons and all of that stuff, are all Ron Moore's work. After Ron Moore left DS9, and, because DS9 shut down, he moved on to work on the new Battlestar Galactica. And he was the showrunner on the new Battlestar Galactica, which is also a very, very good series, with a lot of good story arc and everything like that. And of course that ended, and now this is his newest series, For All Mankind. And the story of For All Mankind is, suppose we didn't land on the moon first. That's the premise. So it starts with Apollo 10 orbiting the moon in preparation for the Apollo 11 landing, and then the Russians land instead. They beat us to the moon. They beat Apollo 11, and then you have to go through this whole, it's centered around the Apollo 10 astronauts, because they were there. All they had to do was throw a switch, and the lander would have landed on the moon, and they would have been first to land on the moon. And so there's a lot of kind of resentment towards those guys. Why didn't you land on the moon? Why did you not land on the moon? You should have done it. You would have beaten the Russians. Sort of that kind of thing. And then it's been fascinating. Every season has been a completely different branch of concept. And of course, the first season takes place on the moon race, right? Because once the Russians beat us to the moon, the Russians are still in the fight for the space race. So Congress doesn't cut the budget to NASA. So they go all the way up to Apollo 24, Apollo 25, Apollo 26, all these Apollo missions. And then they bring the space shuttles in. And it's just fascinating the way that it's well done and well executed. As somebody who's a space geek and has been in a big fan of this and knows way too much about this stuff, all of the things that they're talking about were plans that were there that were scrapped when Nixon killed the space program in 73. And so all of it's pretty accurate. And then the next season, they jump like 5 years. I think they jump 5 years because they're in the 80s in the next season. And so at that point in time, you're still following a lot of those characters because the astronauts, it's just like in real life, the Apollo astronauts were still in NASA in the 80s. They were still doing stuff. So you're still following the Apollo astronauts. You're following the administrators and things like that. And you're following newer characters that are brought in. So they bring in new characters that are young, kids that are coming into this and that sort of thing. And then the next season they jump forward to at the end of that season, then they're starting to run for Mars. Then the next season they jump forward again and they keep jumping forward. And fifth season takes place in the 2010s, 2015s, in this wild alternate timeline where, all kinds of different things have happened. But I think some of the things that are really fascinating are the little details. Like everybody has Apple products and they're all carrying around what they call an Apple Newton, which is a cell phone. But the timelines changed. So they're not calling them cell phones. There was no competition for Apple. And so Apple had no competition in this timeline. So everybody's using Apple computers and they're all using Apple Newtons. And the Apple Newtons are effectively miniature iPads and they're phones. They're cell phones because they're calling people on it. But it's interesting how much detail and care they're taking on things because you don't notice it right away that they're because he looks like it's like us. They pick up their okay, I want to talk to Bob Smith and blah blah blah, and they're talking on their cell phone as you notice. But then later they'll say things like "Hand me your Newton," and they okay, and they take their Newton, and then they do the thing and or whatever, and you realize those aren't cell phones. Those are a very specific product. Very interesting. And I think I'm on episode 3 of the new season. So also that just came out was Monarch season 2. For those of you who are fans of the original Monarch, if anybody has ever seen Monarch, we are not in fact talking about a reference to Alex's Monarch.
I'm the Monarch,
right? But what we are talking about is Monarch, which is it's a Godzilla, is what it is, and it has Kurt Russell and Kurt Russell's son Wyatt, who's fascinatingly looks very much like Kurt Russell. Also in it is Anna. Oh, what is her last name? She was in Shogun, the main character in Shogun. She's I can't believe I dropped her last name. It's because it starts with an A as well, and I can't ever remember that. Anyway, names are not my forte. They are not my fifth either, or my sixth. But yeah, Monarch is it's Godzilla. It's essentially a
begins with an S. Anna Sawai.
Suai. That's it. because it begins with an A, just like I said.
Yes.
Yeah,
The A's in front of Anna, but it begins with an A.
right, exactly. So
And he's also at the end of Anna.
that's also true.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was anyway, that series has been really interesting. I watched that with James when before James left. Um and that was our like main primary series. We were really enjoying it. So the concept behind that is there's first of all, it's really cool. There's two timelines. So there's a 1950s timeline and then there's a modern today timeline. And they both center around Kurt Russell's character. But when they do the flashbacks to the 1950s, Kurt Russell's character is played by his son, who looks like Kurt Russell at
Mhm.
20.
Yeah.
So and it obviously has been mimicking his dad's, like mannerisms and stuff like that. So
No
it's
CGI needed.
yeah, it's like no CGI needed at all. He's just perfect. And so it works really well. And Kurt Russell's been in our world since the 80s. We really have known this guy since he was in his 20s. And so it is kind of wild how well Wyatt does an impersonation of his dad. Because we grew up with Kurt Russell. We could definitely detect if you were not a he does a good job.
Mhm.
So, but
Yeah,
the
I forget the show that I first saw him on, but it was weird in the way that like a David Lynch series is weird because it was like a hotel room and then all these weird things happen. But I remember watching it thinking, man, this guy really looks like Kurt Russell. And
oh,
then
you
I'm like
mean Wyatt?
Wyatt Russell. And
Yeah.
then eventually I'm like, oh, he's got the same last name. I bet they're related.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's I thought you were talking about Kurt Russell. I'm like,
No, Wyatt Russell looks so much like Kurt
yeah,
Russell.
yeah.
And Kurt Russell looks so much like Wyatt Russell.
Weird. There's another kind of connection that's interesting to Kurt Russell, and that is for a bit, my mom worked on a couple of projects with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn.
Your mom.
Yep. And so I'm not exactly sure what the connection was, but mom was connected in a lot of ways to Kurt
Maybe
Russell.
Overboard or something like that.
No. So they worked together in a production team for a while because she wasn't working with them as actors. She was working with them as production team.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember exactly what the story. And this was the 80s, 90s, so I was a kid. So I just know that there was. First of all, I know that in mom's office, she usually had the black and white headshots of a lot of actors up on the wall, people they worked with, things like that. And one of them was Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, who were up on the wall as well. So I remember asking about that at some point in time and getting an answer. And I just, for the life of me, cannot remember what that answer was. But there was a connection somewhere in my family with that, somehow. But yeah, that was so. Anyway, I enjoy watching Kurt Russell. There's sort of a familial connection anyway, to Kurt Russell. But yeah, it's funny. Or not funny. The series is really cool. It's kind of like World of Monsters sort of thing, like all of the different rubber monsters from the Godzilla series exist
Mm-hmm.
in this world. And there's a secret underground group, who's tasked with figuring out how to get rid of them. And that group is called Monarch. And by the time that Anna Suai's character grows up, she's the daughter of Kurt Russell. She's not the daughter of Kurt Russell. She's the daughter of another character that's been involved in this. Her dad's involved in this.
Her dad.
But Kurt Russell was their buddy, their family friend. And so her dad disappears just as Godzilla shows up. And she was a school teacher teaching, she had a bunch of kids on a bus. and the bus goes over the San Francisco bridge when Godzilla takes out the bridge. And she survives because she got out the back of the bus to start unloading the kids when the bridge collapsed and the bus went over the edge. So she's standing on the road as the bus goes off the edge, because she was helping the kids off the bus. So she's got like epic trauma and hates Godzilla, hates him because of this. And the Godzilla, by the way, looks like more like the original rubber suit monster Godzilla, except modernized. It doesn't look like 2000 Godzilla, which we all hated. But it's interesting because, that was the start. And then we never see Godzilla again for the rest of the first season, pretty much, until the end, when because they're trying to figure out what happened. All the monsters are kind of gone. So what happened at this point in time? And that's where these flashbacks are going back and forth between the 50s and today, because it's Kurt Russell's character was in the military and he was part of this entire mess, and she finds him in the future or in the present, and she's trying to get him to figure this all out and what happened to her dad and all this stuff. And it's a fascinating series, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm very much enjoying it. That's another one. If you've got Apple TV, I highly recommend watching that.
I saw an interview between the Russells promoting that on, I think it might have been Colbert, and they were talking about it. And of course, the clip they showed, nothing's happening. It's just the two of them on a boat talking. And it's like, this is a Godzilla film?
Yeah. Well, it's Godzilla series.
A series.
I'm also noticing that Godzilla -1 Black and White has come out recently. I kind of want to watch that, and maybe that's something we could do on a Friday night thing.
Maybe.
I don't know if you've seen Godzilla -1.
No, I saw Godzilla +1.
Yep.
The Spider Noir is going to be shown both in color and in black and white.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that, first of all, if anyone out there has not seen Godzilla -1, you need to. That's a great episode. That's a great movie episode. Great movie. It is a very good movie. Second of all, it in black and white is just perfect. Like that's a nice touch. We went and saw it in color, but I could see it being in black and white very well, because the Godzilla in that is not a rubber suit, obviously, but he's definitely the rubber suit Godzilla. You know what I mean? Like, he's that first generation rubber suit Godzilla that they're,
Yeah.
He just looks mean and real instead of like a rubber suit.
he's portly.
Yeah. Apparently that was everybody's complaint. He's all portly. I'm like, really? Like, have you guys not seen Godzilla? So I do like the Godzilla series. The little rubber monster series are always cool. My book. Always have been. So anyway, that's all the news is fit to print on my side. What you got?
Space and Godzilla. Godzilla in space.
It's like Godzilla.
Let's see. I don't know what the timeline is for this, but my kiddos are wanting to put together what's called a machinima using the video game Zomboid, which I can't remember if you were included in the group that we got in on that. Do you have that on Steam? Okay.
No. It was a series that you said I would enjoy, though. That's definitely
because in the settings you can turn off the stinger for the jump scares.
Oh, hey, I like this game already.
Yeah, because it's designed that if you walk over and look out a window and there's a zombie there, it does the stinger like a jump scare, which it actually works like a jump scare. And so when I was playing, I'm like, oh, guy's not gonna like that. And then, but then when I was looking in the settings, it's like, oh, you can turn that off. Beautiful.
Clearly, somebody in their development team
Yeah. They're like,
had
we need
somebody
to.
like me.
Yeah, it's like we don't want to give everyone a heart attack. Only those who want it.
Only,
Um,
yeah. Do you want a heart attack? Press this button. Yeah.
but it's yeah, it's a very unforgiving game. It's Sims and zombie apocalypse because you have to do things like get food and take care of yourself. Get when you're playing in single player, you have to sleep. They don't have the sleep set up for multiplayer because when you sleep in single player, it fast forwards time.
Right.
If, so that way you don't have to sit there for 6 to 8 hours waiting for your character to wake up. Um, but it's yeah, it's got like a very in-depth crafting system. It's got layers to it of like, okay, you can't get in the house, so you try to open the window's locked. What do? I break the window and then I climb through. Oh, you cut your hand because you didn't move the glass out of the window first. Oh, I pulled the glass out of my hand. Oh no, you've now got glass in your other hand because you weren't using tweezers. So it's a very interesting game,
And complicated.
and complicated to a point, and then you can die from infection. Um, but it's they want to put together a little machinima series, mostly comedic, and where we make characters in that world and basically improvise a lot of the lines and the stuff that's going on. And my oldest is wanting to get some mods and get it set up so that they can actively basically GM it as it happens
Oh,
and
that's
have
kind of cool.
have events happen and then have zombies intentionally be in different places to kind of feed into the storyline. So, so I'm hoping that that gets put together and goes well because it sounds really creative and fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm did our fourth show with the Queen City Variety Show, which is a group of various performers. We get together. It includes music, comedy, sketch acting, improv, um, and it's been taking place at Mutiny Information Comics and Cafe, which is now in Littleton. It used to be much further north. Um, but yeah, that's going really well. And all those
Right.
shows are free. And you can also look up, they're putting each individual act on YouTube. So you can watch it as the show, like just watch the playlist, or you can watch individual acts if you want to watch individual stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and they're wanting to really branch out the people who run it. They want to try to add as many diverse acts as they can because they're trying to tap back into the old vaudevillian style of entertainment.
Uh-huh.
So it'll be interesting to see if they can find people that want to do like all of the acts, juggling, dancing,
I
stupid.
have to admit, I've watched this show. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Cool. Yeah, they're going well.
Yeah.
What other geeky things? I need to get organized because I can't find the board game I want to find because my basement ate it. So definitely one of those things that it's if you can learn to be organized and stick with it, I highly recommend that because it's hard to dig yourself out of the unorganized hole.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely
Mm.
an issue I am experiencing as well.
Um, New season, final season of The Boys is in the middle, is almost done. It's halfway done. No spoilers, but I posted it and I posted that there's a spoiler in it, so I don't know if you watched it or not. But it was an interview with one of the showrunners talking about that when they wrote it and filmed it, they had no idea that something very similar was going to happen in real life.
Oh,
And it's just so weird to them that the thing that they thought was just off the wall fiction
is not.
is not.
That's
And
wild.
because it's like we filmed these episodes months and months and months ago. It's been because it goes through a whole editing process and everything. And it's not releasing until like a few days from now. But the thing that just happened, you're going to see the episode and go, wow, that's very similar to what's happening now. And they're like, it's in a way, it's like it kind of sucks because you think you're being creative, but then it just happens, and you're like,
Huh.
oh.
Not the first time in our history that that's happened, though.
Nope.
I mean, there were
A
well,
few
Tom
things in there.
Clancy, I believe, was the one that Tom Clancy had to pull a book because or something. It seems like Tom Clancy was the one that had written a book about terrorists running airplanes into the World Trade Center.
Oh.
And so he had written this book and it released in like July of 2001 or something like that. And so it was like they pulled it or something. I can't remember what the story was. There was something about that. I remember somebody, I know we had a TV show that um had that planned. There was going to be that season of whatever that show was had a they had the
Um,
World
yeah.
Trade Center.
So, Dead of Honor was the sequel to Some of All Fears, and so that's the one that apparently had very similar setup that they had to pull. The TV show I remember was an offshoot of X Files called The Lone Gunman,
Right.
and that had an incident where a person was remote controlling a passenger plane and had the intentions of crashing it into the Twin Towers. And and it's one of those where it happened years before that. Um,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of that's another one of those kind of interesting looking at it from the point of view of looking back on history because we as a culture we think of these things as not we don't think of I'm guess what I'm trying to say is we think of them as like isolated incidents and we don't realize that they built upon existing sort of a zeitgeist. And
mhm,
so even 9/11, it's not that they planned it, I guess that's back to kind of what you and I were talking about in the green room earlier today, which is about conspiracy theories and things like that.
mhm,
Part of it is that nothing happens in a vacuum. You know, the light bulb was invented in multiple different locations at the same time
mhm,
because we hit a point where obviously this is the next step. you know this is where technology is supposed to go. I have often talked about that one as specifically as a point of why today's day and age is so radically different than ever before in history. And the most important piece of technology, everybody always talks about, the Gutenberg press being the most important thing to happen to the world. And I say, no, it's the telephone. Because with the telephone, we were able to talk to people in other countries and start coordinating science. So instead of having, you know, you need the wheel to build the chariot. So somebody has to invent the wheel. But once you invent the wheel, the chariot's going to show up in multiple different locations because that's the next logical step for the wheel.
mm,
So who invented the chariot? Well, you're going to have like 6 people who invented the chariot. Once you have the chariot, then a stagecoach is the next logical step. That's going to show up in multiple different places. But it still requires somebody in all these different places in a vacuum to invent the wheel, then the chariot, then the stagecoach, which means that it takes thousands of years to make those evolutionary steps in technology. Once the telephone was invented, people are talking back and forth rapidly all over the world, and everybody's making the same jump at the same time. The internet's doing the same thing. It's speeding all of this up exponentially. Everything's now happening in days, where before it was taking years, where before it was taking centuries. So we're the real jump was definitely the Gutenberg press was a very big jump because now I could write down the instructions for the wheel, which could
mhm.
then be taken. But the big jump is the telephone, because then I could talk to you real time, and all of the people who are experts in this field can start to communicate with one another real time.
Mhm.
But with the internet, we're all in rooms together, these virtual rooms. So you've got all the Thomas Edisons in the entire world in one room. So instead of building the light bulb, they're outsourcing amongst these 10 super genius light bulb people. And one person invents the light bulb, and the next day that person takes that, and the next person takes that and builds the next step, this one, next step, this one. And within like 2 weeks, you've gone from the light bulb to rockets and the moon, sort of things, where because they don't need to wait until they find that information out 5 years from now that somebody invented the light bulb. You don't have to wait for that information to propagate by horse across the planet. And so the information is now propagating instantly. And that, I think, is one of the big jumps. And I think we undervalue the telephone, thinking about that, because I think we don't think about how amazing the telephone was on just speeding up the speed of this, and the internet speeding up the speed of all of that too, which also goes to our propaganda, because our propaganda also moves at the speed of light now.
Yeah.
So misinformation now moves very quickly. So that's kind of a thing.
Yeah, and it's if the person who sees the misinformation wants to believe it, it's hard to get them to stop believing the misinformation when you start getting counter information that disproves the misinformation.
Yep, confirmation bias is real.
Mm-hmm.
It's real. So, yeah, well, there you go. That's my little tirade for the evening.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well,
we are out of time.
We are.
My tirade is timed out. Okay, that didn't work as well as I wanted it to.
Yeah. Maybe we should, depending on what happens between now and next week, just see if we can't beat a game of StarCraft in 1 hour and just do a live play of StarCraft.
Oh, that'd be fun. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I've been meaning to do more relax and stop working. I've been working nonstop on these projects, and I just wanted to back off and relax for a bit. So it's not a bad idea. I think I will happily do that.
And I like that. As long as you're using the old graphics, you can actually get StarCraft and StarCraft and Brood War for free. But if you want the updated skins or the cartoon skins, you then would pay money if you want that. But to just play the game, you can do that for free, and it's one of my favorites. It was back when I was my formative years as a video gamer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Watch us play that game. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, until then, though, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you all next week. And until then, I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And this